Here we go. 800 podcasts.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of podcasts. Thank you guys so much for joining us live. This is always very, very fun. And in case you don't remember, because we get ourselves confused, the way we do this is we do a podcast twice a week. In case you didn't know, Paul, we do a podcast twice a week. Yeah, we do.
Great.
They release on Tuesdays and Fridays, and it's an audio-only podcast. We are not traditionally a live podcast. However, at the 25 intervals, the 100, the 25, the 50, the 75, and the next 100, we do these. This is the live stream. We take all questions from you guys. We don't come in with a topic. It gets nuts. At the 50 interval, it's all questions, not cars. This should be mostly cars.
I hope it's all cars.
Yeah, anyway, in the comments and watching from the air, Chance, that's cool. Chance is busy flying back from a gig he had actually photographing a race. So he is in the air as we speak.
He was with a race team.
We are here talking about, hopefully, cars. That's good. You actually had a question already, but we also have a few announcements. We should probably cover those.
Yeah, let's start with Blip Shift. Mandy Combs, we give all credit to her.
Mm-hmm.
You might have noticed that when we drop a video, she has coordinated that shirt that comes out. You saw the Elantra N or the WRX.
It's great stuff.
And the 300Z shirt is out. You might have seen that. But there's also a few that are coming in the pipeline. F1 cars, the lines drawing era. I believe that's one that was already out, and that's coming back. The Killer Croc, which is my Cayman GTS, and also, look, Nor Dreamer. So it's similar to this shirt over here with Coda, but it's the Nordschleife.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And we'll have to bring the shirt that I'm wearing back at some point because it's like Coda sliced into chunks of meat.
I keep looking, seriously, I didn't buy one of those when they were out the last time, and that was a mistake because every time I see you wear that, I keep looking at it and being like, that's got layers to it. There's really subtle. It just looks like a barbecue shirt. It's like really, really
the choice cuts of the track.
It's great. I think it's awesome. So that is happening. Other things going on. I want to tell you guys ahead of time, we've got some dates connected to this. I am going to sell the 300ZX. My son and my wife separately asked me this week. My wife for a, when are we getting that money? My son for a, is it really going away? There was two separate conversations. She was like, they're budgetary wise, that car does need to go. Are you really selling it? Because if so, let me plan. That totally appropriate. This is life. My son can we keep it maybe? And I was like, buddy, that's just not. I mean, budgets are a real thing. So that is happening.
Made out of money.
Here's what's going on. Be a patron this month. Sign up as a patron this month in the month of May, because June 1st and 2nd, it is going to be an auction completely contained on our Discord. We're going to have a part of our Discord that is going to be a very casual and yet serious auction of my car. I will answer questions and that kind of stuff. That is a Thursday, Friday, right before we go to Germany. So somebody by the evening of June the 2nd will have bought that car, unless nobody hits my base price, which I think is 20 grand. So come on, somebody's going to give me 20 grand for that car. So people can fight over it.
Steal,
feel free. So as long as we hit my base and we go up from there, if nobody shows up at the base, then I'll take the car elsewhere. But I'm hoping that it goes directly to you guys that watch and support our show. Somebody will want to buy it. So that is going to happen. So sign up as a patron so you can get on the Discord. It'll be contained to Discord. That is coming soon.
The folks on Discord have a lot of fun. Everybody on our who's our patrons, there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of conversations that go on constantly. So please join. And yes, you'll get access to bidding on Todd's Z car. I can't believe you're getting rid of it. But of course, I can't believe that I went and bought a 928 and then you sighed and bought a 300ZX. And then here we are. So yeah, it's going away. But guys, welcome back to the 800 live stream. I'm going to start us out with a question from patron Rich C.
Okay, good.
He is asking about types and trends that we see across all the car debate submissions that we get from you guys. He says a few that he's noticed are examples of what he's getting at, but we do have more than these. He named 4 categories so far. The person that's always wanted a 911 and Corvette who writes in wanting a practical sports car, lists 10 options. None of them are 911s or Corvettes.
Yes.
The second category is the Honda Fit or the 500 Fiat 500 Fiesta ST. The owner who loves everything about their car, but feels like they should want more car, something they'll actually use to have the driving experiences they feel like they're currently missing out on. And then the person upgrading from a 250,000 mile Eclipse, but won't consider the 300 brake horsepower option because it would be slower than that 350 brake horsepower rival. Right. And then, the cool car, the person that they're trying to keep their car nice, wants advice on a more expensive and precious car. And, that they want to drive that car and experiences, but they're held back by the fact that it's too precious. Well, yeah, there's other categories too. There's lots of Miata questions too, or Miata versus GR86 kinds of questions. These are good, Rich, and you're absolutely right.
My favorite of the group that we will always, hopefully we will always remember to stop and rewind the car debate when it happens, and that is the person that somewhere in the email says, I've always wanted blank, and then proceeds for the rest of the email to never talk about that car again. And we try really hard to stop and rewind and be like, give yourself permission to get that thing you've always wanted.
Yeah, one of the main things that we're looking for is somebody that wants validation, which they might offer two choices, but we try to get them to expand their horizons. Having driven many things, hey, we have our own biases, we have our own things that we like, but we try to get that person thinking, more. What else could they consider in their choices? So those are good, and yeah, we're seeing continue a lot of trends. But really appreciate your question, Rich.
I'm going to start with William here on the YouTube questions. He says, car question, which is good. You're in the right place. GR86 is roughly 30 grand, 35K. Okay, please don't pay markup. You could also get a used Corvette base C7 for that money, or
you can
the first, if you're lucky,
for 30 grand,
35 to 40. If last time I looked, yeah, they're right in that area. Okay. Or the first, when they first introduced the M2, the N55, like the first year M2 before they made it the comp, which was actually different engine. Anyway, he said, so how for the same money do these stack up for fun? William, it really depends on how much you're going to get to use them. I would not say a used C7 base unless you can get Z51 for that money. Don't get it without the Z51 package. It is definitely worth it for suspension. The M2 is very, very fun. It is as close to the 1M as most people are going to be able to afford and buy. The problem is it is heavier and a little bit less involving than the GR86, but it is more usable and more powerful. So if you want a car that you can really like stretch its legs and get everything out of, it's GR86. If you want something that is more kind of all life friendly, the M2 has more power, more backseat space. It's a more livable car by far and still really, really fun. The C7 is great. Make sure it's got Z51. Most people, that's going to be more power than they know what to do with. Most people. Depends on how you're going to use it. But if you're just saying to me, how can I just have the most possible fun? It's that slow car fast thing. The GR86 is something that it's one of those cars. I floorboarded it everywhere. Everywhere.
On track,
and
to the store.
But the C8 that we just got, I was driving that this evening. The C8 that we just got, you got to like decide. Hang on. I got to take a minute, look around. 500 horsepower. Can I put that down right now? Or do you know, wait a minute. The GR86 is like, I'm in traffic. I'm not in traffic. There's pedestrians. Doesn't matter. Just power.
All right. Big shout out to MK who is listening and watching from Japan.
That's cool. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. He works today and it's resting time right now. So he is with us. There's a question up here from Kaya RB who saw our Honda CR-V review. Yes, Honda is back on track. He hopes the next Acura RDX is going to be spectacular. Acura needs a hybrid performance RDX. Yes, I agree. But I'm actually really encouraged with that new CR-V. If you haven't seen that on this channel, we were very encouraged because I didn't like the last generation. And we've had comments from people who own them and say, I own that generation. It's great. And I disagree. And
I honestly,
know why.
We didn't do an actual on-camera review of the last CR-V hybrid, the prior gen CR-V hybrid that we got. We didn't do a review because Paul disliked it so much. I was like, this is going to be such a one-note review. We can't take it out. So we were glad that the next one was good.
One note, like, dang, I hate this thing.
Seriously, it was all bad. Benjamin's asking, hang on, is it Benjamin's asking? Yes, I think he is. Yes, he's asking about the Colorado trip. You have this week to sign up. If memory serves, it's the end of this week when registration closes for that trip. We have a few spaces left, but look into it right now. He said, is it family friendly? Yes, it is. It is designed to be spouse friendly. You're thinking about bringing your wife and 2 girls. You're going to have to connect with Mandy through the registration system to find out how the pricing works for you to bring a full family full of people. It is very possible. There's nothing that's not family friendly about it. One of the things that's cool about it is we have a really cool overnight, a great place, night 1. Then we have a good, easy, straightforward, very cool drive day, the first full day. And then the next 2 nights we're in the same place. So if some of the family members don't want to go on the drive, like possibly my wife, they can stay in Telluride and have a great time and we'll be back. So there's a lot of flexibility there. So definitely look into it.
Jorge asks us to give our best sales pitch on why you should buy an Integra Type S over the Type R, the Civic Type R, as the ultimate do-it-all small family car under $60,000. I will say probably because of availability. I know it's going to be in huge demand, but the Type R is so difficult to get a hold of for a good price, for MSRP, for something that is, we think about a $60,000 Civic and we recoil in horror, but
as we should.
You get a little bit more horsepower. We have not driven it yet. Actually, at this point, nobody has, but I like this styling actually a little bit better. I really like it. It just seems like another step towards, it looks like adulthood, but it still has the bones of that Civic Type R goodness under there. So it's a little bit more invisible, whereas the Civic Type R turns heads. Honda enthusiasts, when we were driving that car, Honda enthusiasts would break their necks trying to look at us, and they know exactly what it is. I think the Type S will fly a little bit more under the radar if that's what you're looking for from a family car standpoint.
It's the nicer car. It's the little bit more family friendly car. It's got more content. You're gonna have heated seats, things that don't come in the Type R. But the flip side is it's not as aggressive and focused, but that might be better as a daily.
Also, we offer low financing rates, so you should buy from us.
No,
not really.
We don't have one.
I wish.
We aren't getting one. Very funny.
Let's see. Shadow Sniper has written in before, of all the old air-cooled VWs, which would we take and why? Shadow Sniper is a fan of the Ghia and the Type 3 Squareback.
Interesting.
Helped his dad pick up a 73 Beetle a few months ago, and it's a riot. A buddy of mine in high school had a Baja Bug, and it had the Stinger tailpipe, and it was all just, it was really great condition, and it had a colorful paint job and that gas pedal that looked like a cartoon foot. So that everything about it was just
forgotten
cool.
that existed.
Remember
that was
that?
such a 60s, 70s thing. You get in and the pedals with feet.
It was a huge.
Yes,
it was
I
just the
remember.
gas
I totally
pedal was
remember.
that right foot with.
You could get them
with
all three. But yeah.
toes. And
God,
I just, it made a big impression. So I'd probably get like a Baja Bug or something like that. But I do agree, the squarebacks and the notchbacks, those are rare. I've seen really nice notchbacks. I think I saw one up at the shop in Seattle that was great looking. It turned my head and sort of like, oh yeah, that's a different choice. But you, just like old Porsches, you got to love how they don't handle, or they're not fast, or, same kind of a deal.
You've got to love them for what they do well.
Hey,
yeah,
but
for sure.
They're cool. I do like the design.
Ryan is asking how my wife is enjoying the new Cayenne. Of course, we told her the old Cayenne. What is funny to me is I am driving the old Cayenne now more than any of us, and more than I have in years, because I take the dogs or the bike or the whatever. I take the old Cayenne. So there's that. She is driving the new one. She is actually loving it. We are averaging about 30 miles to the gallon.
Farm truck.
Exactly, because we're doing a lot of stuff on E only. So that actually works really, really well. It has taken her some real getting used to because of that hybrid drivetrain. The old Cayenne was a V6 and a 6-speed. So based on the gearing and the fact that the minute you put your foot in it, there was nothing between the fact that you were giving a gasoline motor gas and asking the wheels to move. It has an initial jump that's a little bit better than the new Cayenne. The new Cayenne, you're coming out of EV, we're stopping, the regen, it's just off we go. It takes an extra beat. If you get your foot in the new Cayenne, it is significantly faster than the old one. She has come to accept that. Also, after I
accept it, embrace it.
Oh yeah, big time. After I punctured a tire on a nasty pothole in the first week of having it at home, she was really spooked until the winter snow melted and the potholes got fixed. That's happened. We've gotten past that as well. All of that to say, it wasn't love at first sight, but after a couple of weeks of driving it, and if we got out of winter, she's really thrilled with it now.
Have you noticed how badly the potholes have been repaired? They're terrible.
Oh yeah, it was the fast version, and then it's going to be summer build season, and we're going to have half our rows closed. It's going to be great. Yeah,
it's awesome. John Katerify would like to see a video where I teach everyone how to properly wash a car.
You did that, yeah.
Yes, Colin. There's already a video about it. It is called the 1 bucket method. It is highly controversial, but I did wash the GTS. That was actually a couple of years ago. I can't believe it. And car needs a wash, but the Cayman did get service. It got new PDK fluid and filter and spark plugs and oil change and a new battery, and it is feeling fresh and ready to go. So I can't wait to drive that. But on the other hand, I have a Corvette now. We have a Corvette to drive.
It's crazy. It really is nuts. Yeah, for sure. I clean things only with the foam cannon now.
You love the foam cannon.
Yeah, I am thrilled by that. I don't even touch the car unless I'm drying it. They all should look better than ever. So thanks to Griot's for making good products there, because I don't know what I'm doing. And the car's like Paul will be like, that car looks great. I'm like, that's an accident.
That's like
I didn't do
minutes.
anything good. Yeah, for sure. I had the world's fastest West before we did the Lotus and C8 together for our last video, I did literally a 20-minute wash on that car and it looked better than it had in a while. So that was actually really cool.
See,
Mark Cooper's always thought of a GT car as either a comfy sports car or road trip coupes. Is this accurate? Yes, it is very accurate. That's how I would describe it. It is the difference between an Aston Martin Vantage and an Elise. The Aston Martin Vantage is your GT car. The Elise is not. Okay, so that's kind of the thinking. But what happens now that we have adjustable suspension, things like the C8, for example, adjustable suspension, you can do GT and then you can switch the car over and it feels much more like a Focus sports car because you got away from the GT feel. But most of the time, the GT cars are also bigger and heavier, which keeps them from being light sports cars.
Jordan Schieffer says, what is the weirdest possible car we would like to take on the Nurburgring? No traffic, just you and the track.
I want to take the van we transport everybody in. I want to do that.
Oh my gosh. With everybody in it.
Sure.
Hating life.
But here's the thing.
Hating
Everyone
us.
would laugh at the time and then we would check for bruises afterward. Because it would
Seriously,
not.
you would.
We'd laugh at the moment, then it'd be done. Yeah.
Weird. See, this isn't like Lemons. It's not like let's have a horse head out of the top of a Scirocco or something.
Just something
weird.
Inappropriate. Yeah.
How about a Caterham? Something super duper duper lightweight, just something very different. You're sitting way back at the rear axle. I'd like something as light as possible, like an Ariel Atom or a KTM or something very, very light to really understand those corners better, because every time they're different and you drive in heavy cars and you can't really feel much. You can't understand what that corner, what it can do. There's so much possibility from all these corners to do them differently. And we discovered that there is the student line, and then there is the line most people do, and then there's the race line, and they are all different.
There's also the wet
dramatically
line.
The wet line, of
which
course,
is
too.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
They're all different, and there's so much to learn constantly. So I want something that I can understand what the corners are doing all the time.
Crash Test says if he has $20,000 for a used first Porsche, what is his best option? I'm going to say Boxster, because the Boxsters typically are a little bit cheaper than the Caymans. If you can find a Cayman, great. But I'm going to say Boxster, ideally Boxster S, and find the nicest one of those that has been run well and has good records. I'm not even worried about the mileage. I mean, ideally, you want to get away from the IMS era, but truthfully, with $20,000, you may be getting an IMS car. These things are fixable. Check the records. But the thing about a Boxster or a Cayman, either one of those, you're just going to enjoy it. That's the thing. You're just, I mean, it's going to feel less precious than if you got some of the other Porsches.
Jorge sends in a question. Now that we have convinced him to upgrade to the Type S over the Type R, since it's no money at all, convince why he should stretch just a little bit farther for the do-it-all to the CT4 Blackwing.
Oh, I got that for sure.
Jorge, I admit that we have not driven that car. We've not reviewed it. We wanted to. We still may have a chance to. A standalone review at this point, we need to drive it against other things. And I think it might show up as part of a larger comparison. But they're not going to be making too many more of them. They're not going to be making it that much more. And is a manual transmission.
Here's the thing: manual transmission, rear-wheel drive, four-door, four-seat. It's like that Alfa Giulia they don't make, which is the manual transmission version of the Alfa Giulia Quadrifoglio. It's that car, okay? And the truth is, we're going to be much more likely to wind up with another front-wheel drive biased hot car than another rear-wheel drive four-seat manual with a super hot engine under the hood. The CT4 is much more unique, and I would bet you in order of dynamic fun, even though we haven't driven all of them, I bet you it's Integra at the bottom, then Civic Type R, then Blackwing above it. The Blackwing's going to feel bigger, but of course it is bigger.
Let's see. Eric P says, what is the best looking 50s to 70s American car, and why is the C2 generation Corvette Stingray? You're not wrong. That is a pretty car, but the 50s, that late 50s, just about anything from, of course, the Cadillac, the tall tail fins. I really liked the 57 Cadillac, and I also really liked the 53 Cadillac more than the 59. 59 is iconic and beautiful, but the 53, it's just so huge and heavy. It's bigger than what's probably almost as big as a Suburban. It's so big and it just looks so weighty, and it's got such a distinctive style. And I guess I connect with it because my grandfather, as his first car, owned a 1936 Cadillac. And I've only seen one photo with him and my grandmother in front of this thing, and it was gigantic, but it looked like an SUV before SUVs even came about. But he was a Cadillac man his whole life. I mean, from the time he was in his 20s. And so that era just has always spoken to me, just from that optimism of design has always been fascinating. So thanks for the question.
Shadow Sniper says, have we seen Gears and Gasoline's current series? They're attempting to take K cars from Virginia to Texas. Yes, I have. I'm watching because I really like
into the trip. I'd be like, I'm done.
I really like those guys, Ben and Big Ben and Little Ben. Big Ben is on his second K car and he's blowing them both up. Sorry, spoiler alert. It is honestly, I really like those guys. I love the road trip
awesome
series.
Guys.
They are having a great time. There is a Buc-ee's cameo as well, according to the clips. So I'm enjoying it. Here's the thing. It had me looking on Sotomoto at K cars, I have to admit.
Seriously.
The problem is we did a K car episode years ago. We went up to our friend Adam at Sotomoto, which is in Seattle. And the problem is I am entirely too big for these cars. And we weren't sure I was going to fit in the AutoZam, which I loved, actually, the idea of an AutoZam and driving, all that kind of thing, but I barely fit. I would consider a Cappuccino because those are really cool. These are kind of the obvious choices. The AutoZam is just awesome.
It is awesome.
I just don't fit.
Well, your torso, you were banging your head on the.
Well, it has. You
couldn't close the door.
It's got the the gull-wing door, but it's got a glass center, and then the frame around it, and the frame literally came down like a halo over me, and my head was barely touching the top of the glass.
Jeez.
That was. I don't want to be don't even shake the car, let alone get in the wreck.
Let's see. When will we be heading to the Northeast for any of the road trips this year? That's a question from Matthew M. We are planning 2 trips right now, at least, and it's kind of I can't really say yet.
We shouldn't say. Yeah.
However, the Northeast we'd still like to go that direction. The farthest we got was Philly for our second road trip with the older cars, and that was quite a trek. So if we were to do that, we'd need completely different roads, a different route. And we'd almost need to start from Tennessee or something and kind of make the road trip that section.
I'd love to do
you don't need to go from Park City all the way to full Northeast.
I'd like to do Eastern Seaboard, but I'd like to start out there. To your point, that'd be really, really cool.
Yeah, kind of.
Derek is teasing me. He says, hypothetically speaking, how would we feel if the potential bidder, considering the 300ZX, was using it for a Safari build?
You want it to go to a good home.
That's the key thing. I don't
there's money.
Honestly care. I don't honestly care.
Okay.
Here's the thing I don't want. I want the person that buys my 300ZX to drive it. I don't want it to sit.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be in storage somewhere. It has almost 90,000 miles on it. I've put over 15,000 miles on it. A lot of the stuff that wears out between 60 and 80 has been replaced, some by me, some by the prior owner. It's in very good mechanical shape. It's not in perfect paint shape, but I have actually decided to not fix it because there is a huge debate among owners of cars like this. Do you fix the chips in the original paint so it stays original paint, or do you, which is probably the more efficient way, do you repaint it, but then it's not the original paint? I am leaving that to the new owner, because I'm not going to make the call and half the bidders don't like the decision. I don't care. So it has chips in the paint, and I figure whoever buys it, if they want to fix it, great. And here's the thing. If you don't want to fix it, it is a 10-footer. From 10 feet away, when it's freshly cleaned, it looks spectacular. You get close, you go, oh, yeah, this has got some nicks in it. So whoever wants to drive it, or whoever wants to buy it, but hopefully you'll drive
buy it first.
Yeah.
Then whatever. Yeah, I hear you. D. David said, how is the Lyriq compared to the EQS SUV? Have not driven the EQS SUV quite yet, but I still maintain that GM is taking a loss on the Lyriq. To build that for everything that you get for $65 and change, almost $66,000, that's what you get. It was very impressive, far more than I ever thought. We actually saw one in LA on our recent trip, and it was a livery vehicle. It was like, the private transport kind of vehicle. And we're like, wow, there you go. That's what they're supposed to be used for. And I'm sure the EQS steps it up quite a bit, because those, I think, are double the price at least at this point. But yeah, that's the big dad. So
gosh, there's so many. It just jumped on me. I'm trying to catch up. Track Daily Crush from Jeremy says Audi R8 V10. Pardon me, V8. I'm going to just assume it means the gated manual here because that's how you want it. The Aston 4.7 liter V8 Vantage, or the Porsche 997.2 2S. All from 2009, 70 to 80 grand, all available in manual. Track Daily Crush. I think, oh man, that is hard. That's really hard, actually. I think you track the Porsche. It's going to be the most at home on the track. I kind of think you end up dailying the Vantage of those three, because I think it's just the more interesting. Everybody loves the Vantage. It's just the car that everybody's like, oh, that's awesome.
Well, the doors open slightly up to avoid curbs, so that's your daily. That's why.
However, I think I personally would probably do the R8 V8, because then I would drive it year round through the snow very happily, which means sadly I'm crushing the Aston, even though many people would pick the Aston. So tracking the Porsche and driving the Audi.
Greg J. Witherspoon asks me, what is my favorite color in the Porsche color wheel? There's like 12,000 colors, including the paint to sample colors. So I haven't seen them all, but I actually like quite a few of them. I do like the Ruby Star Red, the Ruby Stone Red, and I like Miami Blue, and I like Shark Blue, the new one. Of course, Sapphire Blue, mostly blues. I know you're kind of shocked at that, but I actually like a lot of the greens. I'm really lately feeling the green with the gold bronze wheels and the green interior. We saw one of those, that color scheme. It was a 308 GTS at Radwood last year. And it was just, the cool thing about it was because it was so unexpected. A Ferrari painted that deep emerald green with the tan interior. So I do like that. But the cool thing is, I mean, there's a lot of companies that will paint your car for, you just got to pay a lot of money. Porsche
bring
included,
the cash, they'll do it. Yep.
But Porsche still feels like one of the last hand-built, like, I got my car. You chose your interior with your custom paint color. And yeah, it cost a lot of money, but it's yours. It's not just from the options list. That's the one that I want. Of course, not everybody might share your taste in cars.
People may look at it and be like, what did you do?
Like, why would you choose that? Yep. How is this ever going to sell? But apparently it does. So anyway, appreciate the question.
G Sweeper is asking me if we're getting winter wheels and tires for the new Cayenne, given the pothole incident. Yes, absolutely. The only reason we didn't this year is we bought it late enough. We figured winter was over. Boy, were we wrong. But yes, as of next winter, it will definitely have winter tires on it. No question.
The water draining off the mountains from the snowmelt is insane. It's destroying earthen dams. It's just filling lakes. It's crazy now.
Crash Test is asking a question, and I know my son is listening, and I kind of hate to say this because he'll listen and my wife will ask later. But what car would I buy now to hand it down to my son in 5 years when he starts driving?
I am all ears.
New car. I'm assuming this is what this means. It would be an 86. I'd buy a brand new GR86 and hand it off, because that would be perfect. Because the other thing about it is I know how good it is, and I would like driving it too. I think it'd be a fantastic one.
You'd be like, son,
yeah, I don't know.
Here's the old Cayenne.
Here's the old Cayenne. That's exactly how it'd go. He'd be mad at me.
Yeah, anyway, he would. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot. Are we going to Pebble Beach this year or SEMA? From Matthew L. Matthew, how you doing? Really appreciate the question. We haven't actually thought that far ahead yet.
We're trying to get through June. We are out of town every other week through June. It is crazy.
I know we should be. I mean, if you're going to those two shows, you should be planning ahead with hotel rooms. But Pebble Beach, I mean, as much as I want to go, and as cool as the overload is, we always have to weigh that against content and content creation and what if something's available. But the problem is I want to be driving everything that I see, and
that's frustrating.
Not that anybody else doesn't. I know that anyway. So we haven't decided yet. So we shall see.
John Caterafee, I think that's what that is. I'm sorry about butchering that. He is going to visit a friend later this year, wants to take him for a good time in a fun Turo car. The catch is, the problem is, his friend is 7 feet tall.
Pretty tall.
Any recommendations? I think a 911.
Yeah, 911.
I've been surprised at how much space is in a 911. We had a
Suburban.
guy. We had a guy come on our pilgrimage trip who was either 6'8" or 6'10". I forget how big he was. Big guy.
Yeah,
made you and I feel small. And he was okay in the 911. He laughed at some of the other cars other people had, but the 911, he was like, I can get in there and make that work. So I would try that.
Yeah. Let's see. Hal B says, how much does a person's first car affect their future driving style? For example, Hal's first vehicle was a racing go-kart at 9 years old, and he's been blasting through the twisties ever since. I don't think, I think it definitely influences, and you're a perfect example, but my first car was a 77 Jeep Cherokee, and it was a rust bucket, and I shared it with my sister, and I didn't get the chance to really start driving, I mean, real cars really until just before you and I started the show. I mean, I was in Honda Accords and other
Simple stuff. So was I, yeah.
And we just started to discover tires. And I remember one of the first questions I asked you when you let me drive your first Z car.
Yeah.
I just said, what tires are on this? This just seems to really stick more than I'm used to. And we started to discover performance driving. It wasn't something that I had access to as a kid. I didn't grow up driving these cars. I mean, I did some go-karting, but I longed to do that. And so I think those skills can be very much learned and learned quickly, which is good. If you've got that mindset and you're willing to be taught the correct ways, I think all of those skills can easily be learned, and you can get very good and understand the dynamics quickly. So, you know, when we get into an SUV of some sort, you know, throw out what we want out of a sports car. But then when we are in something hot, these cars were designed and engineered by people who are also enthusiasts and know and love good driving cars. So therefore, I feel like we can bring that sort of headspace and say, okay, upon this criteria, I'm evaluating this because you want it to perform a certain way. I disagree because of my experience in other cars, or I totally agree. You nailed it. Like a 300 horsepower Civic Type R is inexplicably good.
It's really good.
God.
David Elfring, I just want to acknowledge your great compliment real quick. Thank you, man. You said between the reviews, features, and Discord, this is your favorite automotive channel. Buddy, thank you. I
thank you. Really appreciate it.
I will take any and all compliments like that. That is well received. We work very, very hard. We appreciate being anybody's go-to. So thanks a lot for that.
Crash Test says, no question, really appreciates the quality content that we create. Crash Test, thank you. Big shout out to you. Thank you very much. Let's see.
Oh man, still going on. This is so good. I love it. Hang on. McNow says, what is the most boring question various people keep writing on social media that you always ignore? I mean, I don't know that it's boring, but here is the hardest question. And it normally actually comes from people that aren't really car people. They find out what we do and they say, so what's your favorite car? No parameters, no perspective, nothing at all. The pantheon of cars, from the dawn of cars to now, all prices, that is an impossible question. So if you give any kind of parameters, then it becomes so much easier. And so that is a question that I hate to say it, but when I meet people and I talk to them about what we do and they ask that question, I kind of duck it. Or then I follow up by saying, okay, give me something to work with. So I can, because that's supposed to be what they're expecting. I understand what they're expecting because they aren't car people, and they expect if I meet a car person, they have car number one. That this is just above the pantheon of all cars, but it's a huge shift. So we do ignore that. I will also say this: we get far more car debates where the answer or discussion is either GR86 or Miata than we discuss, because we don't want to only discuss the GR86 and the Miata, both of which we love. So we do get a certain number of car debates where that's the only discussion point. We're like, we can't do another one right now. So it's not boring. It's just, we don't want to beat you guys to death on it.
And look, we have you guys in mind. I think about, what do we want our listeners to hear? What do I want to listen to as an automotive enthusiast? And so I'm always looking at ways to keep things fresh and look for fresh car debates, whether that's somebody coming from an experience or has a different kind of a job or a different kind of need that they need a car for. Of course, there's so many good sports cars out there that we want to have, and we know we'll just go have fun. But it'd be really easy for me to choose questions like, hey, of all the 911s, which would you really want? Of all the Caymans, which would be your favorite? And which one should I buy? And I'd love to dive deep on that. But there's also, I want to speak to low and high ends, and we want to kind of do everything in the middle. It seems crazy when we get way out there for $100,000 or more. And we've had many people write to us, guys, I have a healthy budget.
Which is cool. Really fun.
Which is fun.
But
it's also almost like in design terms, the best design is almost better with a very restrictive budget. That's when the most creativity comes out. If you have a blue sky budget, well, sure, we'll design this amazing thing and we'll use all these great materials and best manufacturing processes and the best marketing. It's almost easier to do that. But it's still hard in a way, because you still have to bring something that somebody else isn't. You have to do better at that high end, but then at the very low end. So it forces us to get creative in our choices. We always want to recommend different things instead of the same things every time. Like, you know, there's good Lexi that are 7s or 8s, but then there's BMWs that are 9s. So we don't talk about Audi TTs all the time or things like that. So Yeah.
There was the question you answered earlier about Porsche colors, and my wife is screaming out chalk.
Chalk is nasty.
I just don't get it.
It's too close to white.
She is so about the color chalk. She wants a Cayenne in chalk. It is so close to white. I can't handle it. The only one of the rare times I actually see my wife stop and watch a car go by is a Porsche in chalk. It just gets under her skin for whatever reason. So,
I don't get it.
Okay, I don't either, but all right.
She's probably yelling at the screen right now.
You know what? Here's a good one. Skylar actually says, thank you for the contribution, man. What was the one car we loved as a kid, but as an adult, we now go, oh gosh, why did I even like that? What was I thinking?
I rock Camaro.
Like the 80s one.
The 80s IROC Camaro.
All right.
IROC that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, okay.
And the Fire Chicken and the Firebird and all
of
those.
Like the 70s too. Wow. Yeah.
All those were so cool.
Yeah. Okay.
They've been passed.
That's funny.
Better cars.
Well,
I always had the IROC Camaro because it had this sporty car shape. And
I was utterly obsessed with the Jaguar XJ220. And I knew before we drove it that it was a Meet Your Heroes moment that I wasn't going to like. And then we drove it. Actually, it was like this. Sorry, it was like this. And I was a little crunched, and it didn't drive. Here's the thing: I was a little prepared for it to not drive well. And then I drove it and I was disappointed to have it confirmed. You could feel what they were going for. There were things about it so amazing. Watch it. It's part of our rad trip, our second road trip piece. When we went to Philly. That's a really cool thing. And I don't know that I go, what was I thinking? Because I still think it's one of the most fantastic looking cars ever, but it doesn't work dynamically, which is too bad.
That thing weighed 3,200 pounds.
It felt like 4.
Double the weight.
Yes.
I could not believe it. It was long wheelbase, and it struggled a bit, and they're just worth so much money. So I don't get it.
Wow, there's so many good things here.
What else?
Great stuff. Great stuff. Okay, Colin says original M2 or Focus RS for spicy dad car, replacing his 03 Z4. You've loved that Z4 too. I know you've talked about it before. Awesome. Colin's on Discord a lot, so I really do appreciate that. Honestly, the M2 is the better dad car of those two. Now, the Focus RS is better because you got 4 doors, 4 seats. The problem with the Focus RS is that it is such an aggressive suspension setup that unless you are on really smooth roads, even in its soft setting, you're going to find it bounces around a lot. The M2 can calm down and just be 2 Series BMW. But then you get it on a back road when you don't have kids in the back that might throw up, and you can really throw down with that car. So I think it is the more flexible dad car unless you need 4 doors, 4 seats, because the M2 is going to be harder for the seats. Anyway,
Grady says, plot twist that I have been a closet Chevy enthusiast the whole time.
This is why we're doing the C8. The fact that when we first drove it and you were like, I would get a C8, and I was like, and this was even off camera. I was like, you, the Porsche guy, would get a C8? And you're like, yes, I would. And I was like, at some point we ought to do that.
We should. So here we are. We're doing it.
I really wasn't entirely sure you were serious until it's now happened.
Hey, we're doing it. We're both going to be driving the car a lot. We're going to put it against everything we can imagine because that's what it should be for. But the jokes about New Balance and jorts, it will never everywhere. Stop. Yeah. I realize that. No, I'm never going to cave. It's just going to be. But you know what? I don't also want to be the guy. I'm always pulled over like, oh, you got a Corvette, huh? And speeding again. Yeah, of course you were. So
Jordan, must you hurt me? Must you? He says he has to bring up Fast and Furious every live stream. What are our thoughts on Fast X being a 3-part finale?
We haven't discussed this yet. I was going to bring it up because I saw the trailer and we have not discussed this.
Can we stop, please? Can we stop?
There's money to be made.
Well, and I hate to say this, but what is Vin Diesel going to do afterwards? What else is he going to do?
Show up at F1 races and smile for the camera.
He owns that series. He's in charge of that series. Yeah. He has more power than anybody in that series. It's all about family. But if you look at the trailer for Fast X, I'm not sure who in Hollywood isn't in it. Except for the characters they've killed off. Everybody else is in it.
Is it like Vin Diesel's Expendables franchise?
But here's the other thing. If you look at the people that have been the villains, okay, they're all roughly Vin Diesel sized and shaped. We're running out of those guys. We're down to Jason Momoa, okay? But we've been through The Rock. We've been through John Cena. Who do we have left that's roughly Vin Diesel-sized and aged that we can put in as a villain? I think it's time. I can't believe this one is 2 parts. Please don't make it 3. That just says to me they're finding up other other ridiculous scenes to shoot. This one, he pulls choppers out of the sky with his Challenger, which I mean, spoiler alert, but it's in the trailer. I feel like when I first saw the trailer, I think I've mentioned this before. I guess they still do this. When I worked in Hollywood, you could get one exception a year on one trailer that could be longer than 2.5 minutes. The rest of them had to be 2.5 minutes. And Universal clearly used Fast and Furious because the first trailer was like 3.5. And I swear they had at least 10 seconds of every major action sequence. And I was like, I feel like I've seen all the big blowups of the movie already. But everyone's in it.
Yeah.
How long can we milk it?
Number 9 did it have the Space Fiero in it?
Yes.
It did in the trailer. I mean,
no, it didn't.
So that was a surprise.
That was a surprise because, yeah, thank God. That was a surprise we all needed. Oh, man.
Wearing diving helmets in space with duct tape.
There's so much wrong.
Okay.
There's so much wrong with that. Space Fiero. Where's that blip shift shirt? Because I will buy that one. Just Space Fiero. I want to see it.
We have to
get it made.
We can get it made. We have friends at Blip Shift, and we know Mandy.
We'll make it happen. Yep.
All right, let's see. Oh gosh, questions. This is great.
It's such good stuff. Okay. P. Donkus says, for our adventure events, now keep in mind, we're about to go to Germany. That is full. The Utah adventure is full. The Colorado adventure has a few spaces left, but that's this week only. He said, what are the pro cons for flying out and doing renting a Turo for the trip, or the long drive there with your own car? He's debating his Volvo C30 versus renting something that doesn't make sense in Wisconsin. I remember the C30. I convinced one of my friends when they were brand new to buy one. He has loved it. He's had it for a long time. The C30 is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Rent something else. Just because you have an opportunity. If you were going to tell me you had some really fun sports car that doesn't get the exercise it should because of where you live, I'd be like, drive it out. But in this case, you should fly in, you should rent something cool and take it on an amazing back road and make even more.
Jake asks what we think about the concept of having too much tire. Jake puts very sticky tires on his 80s car, and it's now permanently stuck to the road. Well, sure, we do like the right tire, but it can also wreak a little bit of havoc, I think, if it's not quite right for the suspension of the car too, because then you're sticking and the car's rolling. So, gotta try to match it. But ultimately, I mean, you want something really, really good, really high performance for sure.
Ryan, thank you, man, is asking about his MR2 Spyder, which I like. You're not a huge fan, but I do really like it. He said,
it's okay.
I've described my Elise as a cul-de-sac car. There's nowhere to go after the Elise. You have to kind of leave the neighborhood and go somewhere else. He's asking if the MR2 Spyder is like the entrance to that neighborhood. Is it on the way to where the Elise is the cul-de-sac, or is it somewhere else entirely? Or is there something else in between? The thing about the MR2 Spyder is you could have an MR2 Spyder and decide what I like is small convertibles, and you could go along that line still. So I think it's related, and yes, you can even do the engine swap and it becomes even more related. I think it is the more focused version than something like a Miata or a Z4. It is a little more hardcore and a little less nice, which is along the lines of the Elise. But I do think you can jump in that same thinking from the MR2 Spyder. So close, I'll give you close.
I was thinking about the Supra. And I've never really been a huge fan of the Supra until the new generation, the 90, came out. It got smaller, it got lighter, of course, the collaboration, but I like the styling better. I like how it drives, Cayman wheelbase. I liked everything about it. I still do. And I think that if Toyota were to bring back an MR2, I think that's the car I would probably really like because of advances in refinement and engineering and whatever engine they choose to use. They have a 3-cylinder little tiny engine they could pack into a little MR2.
Bring it.
And bring that GRMR2. That doesn't roll off the tongue.
MR2 GR. That's terrifying.
No,
but I'll go here.
I would love the new one. The past generations, okay, the recipe is there, but I didn't really love the execution. I bet you I'd love
new MR2 and new Honda S2000.
Yes.
Both of those should exist. They absolutely should.
And the 2001.
It should be the S3000 because they're going to have to put something in like that in it. But it would be phenomenal to have both of those. I don't see Honda doing it. I think there's a chance of Toyota doing it, though I don't think they currently are.
Yeah. Let's see. Looking at a question up here.
Do you see this one for you here? As a Porsche enthusiast, should he buy a 2023 Macan GTS that does everything, track included, or get a Cayman GTS and another family car?
Ooh, depends. Who is that from?
Kiancho. QIA.
Is there track driving involved?
That's what he's saying. Track included. Yep.
Yeah, I think you'd very quickly get tired of the Macan on track. I think you'd really appreciate the Cayman and another family vehicle. That it wouldn't have to be a Porsche if you want to allocate all your dollars towards the Cayman and then do something else for the family car, like a Honda CR-V. Watch the end of the CR-V review.
David D. David, is the RX, the Lexus RX, the egg, really worth it over the Venza? $20,000 Venza, difference between the Venza LE and the 55K 350H. David, I'm not supposed to say this.
Uh-oh.
You get the Venza. You just get the Venza.
Oh my gosh.
The egg, it looks better than the egg too.
Yeah.
It's got the weird Battlestar Galactica helmet front end now, which I guess is better than the Predator model. But as I've said in the review already, it feels like they're just taking all their villains from the 80s and putting them on the front of a car. The Venza does everything that RX does. It looks more interesting. It does. You already talked about. There's so much of the same stuff underneath. I think the Venza is it.
Let's see. Ryan S. asked me if I were commissioned to create a flagship vehicle for any company, who would it be for and what would it be? That's I'd like it to not be an SUV, but to be honest, the Purosang has kind of sparked imagination for me because of how
because of the price.
Well, the price for
one for everybody. It's all good.
But the fact that they don't need to tell everybody not to call it an SUV because it really isn't. But it's kind of in the Panamera Sport Turismo kind of realm where you're not sure what that is, but 6.5 liter naturally aspirated V12, and they've packed that in there, and the packaging is still great, and the doors are well engineered. I really like that. So it wouldn't be Porsche. I mean, that just I'd love to do the very low end, even though you're asking flagship car. I'd love to do something very tiny and lightweight, bring that 550 back and do something creative there. But I'd have to say some obscure brand, something maybe Italian because of the shapes, because of sensual, beautiful form language. Is Lancia, are they doing something with Lancia? Lancia coming back? I mean, getting away from
teasing it.
Four-door, dumb-looking
chopped up a Ferrari and made the new Stratus. That was we did. Yeah.
It would be something else for Maserati.
Okay.
It'd be Maserati, and it would be some new flagship to kind of either compete against the Purosang or kind of take the GT car and make it like a Maserati does a GR86 maybe. They have their flagship MC20, but maybe something beyond that. Maybe something crazy, stupid, but yeah, Maserati.
Moose is asking a question on behalf of his MOF, Minister of Finance. Thank you for that. Let's see. Favorite choices of a fuel-efficient large dog hauler. They've got 2 dogs. Most of the stuff that can fit big dogs aren't fuel efficient like a Macan. Well, you need probably a Macan and going up from there. I'm going to say, look, the Macan doesn't come in a hybrid, but the Cayenne does. If you're willing to put dogs in the back of your Cayenne, I have to be careful about our dogs in the new Cayenne. I have to make sure the crazy one doesn't jump over the back seat because she wants to. She's like, hi, Dad's up there. Don't do that. It's all bad. Please stop it with your claws. So anyway, I have to keep her in the back. So there's that. But I will say this, the RAV4 Prime.
Okay.
The RAV4 Prime, it's a Toyota. It gets excellent gas mileage. You've got some straight EV. It's actually the best version of the RAV4. When we drove it, we were like, this is awesome. I think it'd be a really good one.
Let's see. HD Shadow Star stopping by saying hello. HD, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Can't wait for the road trips with the Elise and the C8. We can't either. It's going to be so great. It's going to be so different. There's going to be complaining from both of us in different categories, I think. I'm predicting now. So
did you see that Jordan said Jason Momoa looks like an off-brand Jason Momoa in the Fast and Furious trailer? I agree with you. He looks like he just got filmed on a bad day. I don't like that guy. It just looks like it was not a good day for him, but he showed up to set anyway, and they made it happen.
Work is work.
Work is work. Absolutely.
Job.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. Oh, Jordan's also asking for a fresh new car movie. Give us the 15-second synopsis of a fresh new car movie.
I actually
Can it not be Gran Turismo because that looks.
I actually wrote. Sorry, I'm copywriting it here on this podcast 800. I actually wrote a producer years ago. He was in a pitch meeting with a film executive, and the guy said, "I don't know what the movie is, but I just like something we can call Cars and Guns." which as a car guy and as a person who tries to write good scripts, both of those parts of my personality were enraged by that recommendation, but I went and did it anyway.
Oh, you did?
I figured out a way that you could, like, every few scenes, you jumped into a different car because problems were happening. So it was a race across the country idea. You kept jumping into different cars, and of course there were guns involved, and so it had action scenes in multiple cars, and there's a story there. And I wrote a nice premise for it and never went anywhere. But cars and guns, man.
Is it like the old Cannonball Run kind of something in there?
Kind of. It's like a Cannonball Run. There was a race across the country Need for Speed game years ago. That was the closest thing I'd encountered about it. It was actually really cool. That was kind of similar. But there's an opportunity. Here's the thing is, the movie title Cars and Guns is the same as your TikTok or Shorts title that is, you'll never believe what happens if. It's the same thing. Cars and Guns just sells itself. That's what it is. So then if it was Cars and Guns and Girls, then we've just, that's pretty much Fast and Furious is now.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's happening.
Fast and Furious. Right. Let's see.
Would love to do Tail of the Dragon in the Vet and the Elise. Would love to do a Tail of the Dragon movie anyway. Thank you for that recommendation. I don't think it's going to be this year. But thank you for the thought. Also, I'm not going to call all of you out. There's been 4 or 5, and I don't want to retread it all, but I want to thank so many of you who are offering really great compliments on what we do and the channel.
Appreciate it.
And the community that's been built around this. And honestly, that you guys are the community. Thank you. We're just thrilled to have you with us and on Discord. And we love taking you with us on these trips too. It's great.
You dive into Discord, it's sort of like, whoa, what's going
so
on
awesome.
here?
It's so awesome. Yeah.
Seriously, best friends have been made there. And
yes.
I love that people organize trips unbeknownst to us, and people have just gone on trips and get together and have events and talk about whatever. And it's just sort of like this way to get it out.
It's so good.
I got to talk about cars and just get it out. So that's the place to do it. Really appreciate it, guys.
Colin is asking about the TV series for Paper Father. The industry is in massive turmoil right now, so there's no pitching that at the moment. But the only update going on Paper Father actually is the fact that I am actually working on the audiobook. It is not going as fast as I would like. I'd love to have it about done now, but unfortunately it's not there. I will have that finished this calendar year. It is me reading it. It is an interesting challenge because I am reading it and I'm doing voices, which means I have to voice act.
It's pretty cool.
It's an interesting challenge. The post part of it, I'm like, that's easy. But the reading part is like, all right. So I found I can do like about a chapter at a sitting, and then it gets a little hard for me, but I'm working on that. So that will be coming. I know many of you have asked over time that you'd rather listen to it than read it. So hopefully he'll show up when it's ready.
Church of Petrol says, what is our favorite medium to save for cars? Like a savings account or CD or index funds.
We just make bad choices. Automotively irresponsible. That's really what happens with us.
I'm trying to think of little unexpected places where you have income that you didn't see coming. For example, you have a garage sale, or you sell something that's actually, you sold something, a bike or something like that for a couple grand. And so now you could just put that into your checking account and it'll just disappear in the form of bills.
Yeah.
Or you could really set that aside. So I always look at just those little unexpected places. It might be $30, it might be $400, but then when you sell something and you upgrade, or you just, you know what, I don't need this stuff in my life for whatever that is, and that'll kind of be the car fund, and you just put it aside. That's kind of my favorite way of thinking about money like that.
Wow, such good stuff. I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah,
you guys have bombarded us.
In. See,
it's really good.
What's happening here on the questions is just like it happens on the Discord. People are just going just crazy. It's awesome. I really appreciate
Simon is acknowledging the fact that you at one time were considering an M2. He's wondering if that would ever circle back. Now you've gone C8 though, and there's jorts on order, so I don't think so.
There are no jorts on order. Yeah. He's totally kidding.
Garage 79R, the Discord link comes to you when you become a patron. That is our base level of patrons. And actually, I do want to say this to all of you that are patrons. We have been behind the scenes talking about what the patron levels are going to be. We haven't been able to do anything with the middle level patron for a while, so we're actually going to restructure things. Nothing that you currently get will go away, but we're trying to restructure things so we can actually have better things for our patrons. But all of our patrons get on the Discord channel, and once you become a patron, you get the link. So that's how that connects up.
Yeah, for sure. We're getting towards the end of our time here. What else did we miss? If we've missed something, we apologize. Post it back up.
There's lots of good ones. I'm circling back now, but there's some really good stuff through here.
Did we talk about Skylar's question about permanently deleting any car from history? Did we answer that?
No,
yet?
We didn't cover that at all. Cover that. That's great.
Skylar said, if you could permanently delete any car from history, ooh, and the effect, the ripple effect that it caused as a result, what car would you delete? For Skylar, it'd be the RX 300. Interesting. Was that your first car, Skylar? Just wondering.
But it's the start of the SUV plague.
Yeah, that's
is
true.
What he's doing.
That's the car that generated the crossover revolution.
Yeah. Sure. I see that.
I would love to delete the Bug. I've never loved the Volkswagen Bug. Just think of the ripple effect. Herbie movies would not exist.
I don't know that that's a loss, but there it is. Okay.
We didn't lose. Seriously, I want to like Volkswagen Beetles, the first one, not the 98 redo. None of that. It's a Golf underneath. But all the Beetles, every one I ever rode in was just sort of like, ugh. But you know what? It's hard for me to say that because 356s and early Porsches were based on components of the Beetles. So I can't really do that. And that means 356s and therefore 911s.
Ooh, look what you've done. You've created trauma over there for you.
I can't do that.
Okay. All right.
And that lightweight, practically nothing at your feet, lightweight feeling, that's a lot of what a 356 feels like. So I can't delete the Bug as much as I don't like it, and I like 356s.
Well, yeah, and the carry over to the 911, it'd be killed forever. That's fascinating.
Yeah, that's no good.
Nathan is asking Mark 7 Golf R or Focus RS for daily driving with a couple of track days per year. Nathan, how hardcore do you want your car to be? Because the Golf has the ability to just vanish. It's just became your commute car, and it's fast enough, but it's comfortable, and it doesn't ask anything of you, and it can kind of fade into the background of your life. The Focus RS will not. It is loud, it is aggressive, and honestly, I mean, look, I drive a Lotus Elise. That can be wonderful. Will that annoy you? If what you need it to be is competent on the racetrack, and the rest of the time just be a nice commute car. Well, Golf R. If you want to feel hardcore all the time, Focus RS, and then when you get to the track, you're going to love it.
Okay, I'm changing my answer to Fiat 500.
Interesting. Okay.
The little mouse, the mighty mouse. Simon is saying, what about Bumblebee? I could get rid of Bumblebee and therefore all the Transformers movies. We could just scoop those off to the side. We're good, right?
That's very funny. That's very funny.
Okay.
Oddball daily driver request. Space and fitting, not a concern. Veloster N or Miata RF, all city driving. Watch our daily fun car piece where we have the Veloster N versus the first gen 86, and watch this guy change his mind 3 times in the last minute of 22-minute piece. But it really comes down to what you prefer. I would always say that I find lightweight rear-wheel drive more fun than even the best front-wheel drive, and the Veloster N's way up there. So I would pick Miata RF of those two because I think it is more fun. It is not the more usable of the two. So what do you need?
Battle Shopper says, how much of a premium would we pay for a good color on a car? Well, we just came across a vehicle. It is the BMW X3 2023 M40i. And the paint color, beautiful dark cherry red color, is gorgeous. It actually really works on this. This is a test drive on this channel. It said close to $2,000 for the paint color on that. The owner is private owner here in Park City. Let us borrow the car. He had to wait for it and paid almost $2,000 just for that color for the SUV. His wife's SUV, and he's got an M2 competition that's hot rodded, and he's a BMW guy. And so I definitely see it. It works. $2,000. On the other hand, if we're talking Porsche paint to sample colors, $12,000 is no money at all.
Why not? No, I mean, I honestly, I think $2,000 for a color you really like, do it.
I think $2,000, $2,500, but then
worth it. And I think
to sample just gets me.
It's
crazy. I cannot believe that there's Chance actually showed me a Porsche that was a color flop, color shifting paint that was close to $37,000 for the paint. And I think, okay, you ding it or something gets nicked, you need a repaint. Now what? Okay.
Yeah, I think a couple of grand, and I would carry that over into used cars. If you're looking at used cars and the color you want is a couple $1,000s more than the gray you don't want, please don't get gray. Spend a couple extra $1,000s. I think it's very worth it.
Speaking of gray, Skylar says, imagine paying $12,000 for chalk. Yuck.
Hi, honey. Anyway, what do you do if your dream cars are now out of reach? 356s and air-cooled 911s. Financially, he'll never be able, this is Ben writing in, to obtain and drive these cars. Feel like I missed the boat. This is the problem with the classic 911s is, look, when we did this, I'm going to scare us all right now. This June, a month from now, this was 10 years ago. We shot this the longest day of the year. That week, 2023. It also was
ago.
almost one of the hottest weeks on record. It was
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah, it was
how hot it
100
was.
degrees.
We
Yeah.
were sweating through our clothes every day in the mountains at like 10,000 feet. It was nuts.
Super
Anyway,
awesome. Yeah.
we thought they were nutty then. They've only gone up since then.
God.
Okay. And this car here, we know a friend of mine in Park City, and he has it, and he never drives it. Well, he rarely drives it. Sorry, Chris, but rarely drives it. And he will never get rid of it because he knows it's only appreciating. And his is very nice.
Yeah.
So the problem is, yes, those have stepped up. I'm going to say two things here. First off, with either Turo or DriveShare or something, seek out a way to drive them, because it is an interesting driving experience. It is not worth these crazy prices. There's a 911 cult. It exists. It is a thing, and it is driving prices way beyond anything realistic. You haven't completely missed the boat, because you can get an opportunity to drive one of those cars. Also, if you really, really want one, keep in mind the 356s have really good replicas.
Yeah.
And so you could get a replica. It's not the
$40,000,
same thing, but you could get a replica. So if that's something you wanted to go with, you could. There are a lot of 911s out there. The air-cooled ones are still going up. But honestly, if you go all the way up to the 997, second gen of the water-cooled, the 997 is a fantastic 911. And I don't think Porsche fans will say otherwise. I don't think the difference in enjoyment between the 997 and the air-cooled really exists.
We're here to find out.
There's some specialness about the air-cooled. I will grant you, there's some specialness about it. But the driving experience, 997, you can get one of those.
Holy moly. Yeah, I was just, as you were talking, this image over our shoulder here, the owners of this car had bought it. I remember they told me they bought this car. They named Ollie. It was a 67 short wheelbase.
I believe so.
And they bought it not too long before we shot the car for $8,000. And then they sold it for $40,000 and thought they'd done great. And now they go for a couple of hundred.
Yeah.
YouTube Car Spotter Guide, to answer your question, 912s. Good ones are 80 grand now. That's the problem.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Chance has mentioned that somebody should take a 912 and put the 718 4-cylinder in that and make it a rocket ship. And I love that. Also, I think 912 is a perfect 911 to buy if you want to put an electric version in it. Yeah. But I think that's really good.
Agreed.
Hal Bullock is asking the question you're not supposed to ask, Hal. Why do auto journalists complain about having to drive mid-engine cars like mid-engines, but don't complain about having to drive 911 like rear-engine cars? There is an unspoken rule. I think I was sent the form and didn't sign it. You're not supposed to say anything bad about the 911 ever.
Oh, you're not?
That's the auto journalist rule. The 911 is the king of all things, and every automotive journalist is supposed to aspire to just buy a 911 and be done. We're all supposed to say that. We're all supposed to feel they are the greatest thing ever. The 911s are very fun because if you do it right, a la Chris Harris, they are drifting masterpieces.
Yeah,
they're masterpieces to drift. They don't drive like anything else. But if you have a beginning auto journalist and they don't know how to drive a 911, they assume it's them. They should learn how to drive a 911 because everybody says they're great. If you have a beginning auto journalist who doesn't know how to drive a mid-engine car, they assume it's the car. Because the 911 can't be spoken badly about. But why does this mid-engine car not drive like a big front engine V8? Because it's not that. Anyway.
I still maintain that everybody talks about manual transmissions, and those are the best. I only buy manuals. I agree. I love manual transmissions. We all do. But then what about all these car companies that you are now no longer allowed to talk about? Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, Koenigsegg, Pagani, on and on, with all these companies that don't build manual transmissions anymore. Those are right out. We cannot consider this. It's interesting that the big boys, the top end, doesn't build a manual transmission anymore. And yet, so all the manuals are for us enthusiasts. What does that mean for all the people who buy those cars? Are they not enthusiasts? I don't know. That's the other, the question that everybody says, well, it's not a manual, I won't buy it. Does that mean all Ferraris you now hate? All modern Ferraris? You wouldn't aspire to that Purosangue, as cool as that is?
Interesting point.
Any of the 296 GTB? That's a sweet looking car. No, you'd turn up your nose at that.
Jeremy is saying all of those companies are dead to him for that reason. I mean, here's the thing. Though, there is the reality. I mean, look, as much as I wish that Ferrari still sold their gated manual, because I've said it before, that was their magic. It really was their magic. And when we've driven some, have just been like, come on, guys. It was the manual 6-speed gated to Ferrari was to Ferrari what the good hydraulic steering was to BMW. BMW has gone to electric power steering, and Ferrari's gone to DCTs. But there were 2% of the people picking manuals. If you're Ferrari, the choice is obvious.
Still a big company
or
making money.
Or the flip side is, do you want
money?
to spend 2% of your development budget making a new 6-speed transmission? And how bad is that transmission going to be if you're spending that little money to develop it? I hate it, but it's a reality. Anyway, that's a problem. Also, thank you for watching the Veloster N86 piece. I'm glad it was helpful to you. Only 6%, pardon me, only 25% of your fleet is manual, Paul.
It is.
Fix it when the C8 goes away.
I know. I need to fix that. Very funny. Yes. The 300ZX is manual. It's going to go away. The lease was only ever manual. Both Cayennes are automatic, but the new one has an 8-speed, which is a revelation. But anyway, yeah, for sure.
Guys, it is a little after 8. We are still going to cover a couple other questions before we wrap it up, but I just want to thank you again for being on with us. We actually really enjoy these live streams. They go so fast because you guys pepper us with questions so quickly, and it's so awesome to run through these. And the brain tease of reading, talking, listening,
I know,
is very, very fun, but we thoroughly enjoy it.
Ms. Emil says, how do you afford a good do-it-all sports car and the insurance and the maintenance, especially as they keep getting more and more expensive to purchase cars? One word: ramen. You don't even have to boil the noodles. You can just sprinkle the chicken flavor packet right on the ramen brick and just like eat it, cheap. There you go. Spend all your money on your sports car, right?
Or you just make bad financial decisions. You have really cool looking cars and nothing in the bank. That happens too, which is terrible.
Exactly.
McNow is asking if the Lotus is getting upgrades. The Lotus is getting driven. That's what I'm excited about this year. I've actually got a couple little maintenance things to do, but I'm just ecstatic about that car.
I can't wait to drive them back to back.
I bought it with the upgrades. I already
cool.
wanted in it. It was already track prep that has the coilovers. I mean, I love that thing. So yeah, automotive irresponsibility is happening, and there will be more of it this year for sure. Keep in mind, we are doing 2 major road trips for sure, maybe a third this calendar year with the Lotus and the C8. We hope that you guys will show up, watch those road trips, share them with others. We know others are doing road trips. We would love to see our road trips getting lots and lots of views. We are very, very proud of them. And you guys, I will say this, those of you that have seen them have loved on them. And have given us some really nice compliments that encourage us to keep going. We enjoy the life experience of it. We love sharing these roads with you. There's some roads we want to feature this year that I cannot wait to show. I'm very, very excited, but we really hope you guys will show up for that. Also, keep in mind, we are feeding our original Everyday Driver channel about every 2 weeks on Thursdays. Something comes out there that is either big road trip comparison, personal car update, or one of these big comparisons of cars. We have a really fun one coming this Thursday with the Prius, and I think you're going to be very surprised by it. I think you're going to be very surprised. I'm really excited about this one. That's coming Thursday. And then on our test drive channel on Sundays, we are dropping brand new test drives, the 2 of us in the car together in a single car review. And very often we do a POV review of that the following Wednesday. So that is getting something at least every week, sometimes twice a week. The podcast is twice a week. There's a lot going on.
Last 2 questions. First from Mark Price asking, after listening to all of the podcasts, will he have an MBA or a PhD in Everyday Driver?
It piled higher and deeper.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a PhD. And Philip M says, is the C8 Corvette going to become the Everyday Driver standard cost for season cars? Well, if you didn't hear us discuss this on Matt Farah's Smoking Tire podcast just last week, we came up with a new cryptocurrency. It is Vetcoin.
Vetcoin.
I am starting a new crypto, and that will be the standard.
There's another shirt. That's
all.
The second shirt out of this podcast is Vetcoin. I like it. Okay, good.
So we're starting a new crypto. We're going to sponsor F1. We're kicking out crypto.com. It's going to be Vetcoin. Can you imagine Vetcoin above all the F1 cars?
Stop.
For
3 races until the whole thing gets found to be a giant scam.
It will crumble into dust. We'll make the news. And well, that will be the measurement stick. So, guys,
McNow, the Lotus already has AC. Thank you very much. It's just not that powerful, but it does have it. If I avoid 100-degree days, I'm okay. If I get 100-degree day, I sweat. Eric is asking about road trips outside the U.S. We would love to. They obviously logistically, cost-wise, are significantly higher. We do our road trips. You would not believe. First off, it's 3 of us. It's the 2 of us and Chance. That's how we shoot those. And I'm very, very proud of what we get having done that. We've kind of dialed that in on the last 2 trips, and I'm really, really pleased. They're expensive to produce, but they're far less expensive than anyone else doing them because we do them so efficiently. Once you get outside the U.S., there's a lot more logistics and cost. I would love to. I can tell you 3 or 4 I'd do right now if we could. But
for sure,
it's we're never at a loss for ideas. That's never a problem.
Some Vetcoin, and we'll go
Vetcoin.
Do our trips.
All you guys buy Vetcoin. We'll go overseas and do it.
Right.
And then we'll get arrested while overseas.
Hey,
that guy.
sure.
Arrest him.
But we'll make
the guy
news.
with the hair. Right. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for being with us. This is so much fun.
Yeah, appreciate it. We are always looking forward to next time. Really, really appreciate all your patronage, your support.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Cheers, everyone.